Let's get scratching.
And hello, everyone. My name is Adam Latour, and welcome back to another episode of the KashCast, an interview-focused podcast where I ask people about their work, passions, and hobbies. With me, I have Sarah of the Sarah Moon YouTube channel. Sarah's been a freelance Japanese to English translator and translated numerous pieces of media, including light novels, manga, and games, and among other clients has worked on numerous titles for Discotheque Media. On the side, she is a video essayist, novel writer, crochet artist, and Japanese teacher through her alternative YouTube channel. So, Sarah, it has been great to finally be able to chat with you. And like I had mentioned off camera, a lot of my normal questions are going out the window since your videos have been so thorough. But I do appreciate the insight, and it's going to be a really great experience talking to you. So, how have you been?
Like I said in the when we weren't recording, aside from the background anxiety that we are all experiencing with each passing day, right? In my personal life, otherwise everything is okay.
Of course. Yeah, so I think the last thing I'd watched from you, it was part of that like big 2-hour sort of like retrospective. And I guess from watching a couple of your videos, I wanted to ask if your background in theater contributed or like made amounts of like skits you used to film like any easier or more enjoyable.
Probably. I've always been doing theater, in air quotes, in some capacity since I was a toddler. I was a very, very avid doll player. I had a bunch of dolls and I played very avidly with them. I'd make up stories with them. Each one of them had a distinctive voice and personality, and so it all just kind of originated from there. So I've always liked to play and play pretend and be whimsical. But yeah, I mean, actual acting classes and experience in actual performances, of course, helped hone technique a little more, obviously.
Right.
And also, I've mentioned this before, not to you, but to other people. I mentioned this in a talk I gave for, what university was it? Oh, I'm blanking. It was in the Midwest somewhere. We did it virtually. It was during COVID. But I mentioned that my background in theater also has really helped my translating, at least my translating of character dialogue, because I approach it as an actor or as a director, in that I look at the character motivation when I'm translating what they're saying to inform how I'm going to word what they're saying. And oftentimes, I know other translators do this too, especially manga translators, where you see the panels of the characters like emoting. It really helps to vocalize the line that you have translated while looking at that panel to see how it will read and how it will look. So again, getting in the characters' minds, thinking a little more like an actor or a director, that actually really helps my translating too.
Fascinating. I never would have thought. Well, when you say it out loud, it does seem obvious. But yeah, no, that's a really unique perspective. Do you have any particularly interesting anecdotes from learning Japanese at a young age, going to a Japanese school, etc.?
Oh, goodness. It's all very cringe, I would have to say. Yep, that's my particularly interesting. Okay, so some of the first Japanese I learned, my best friend at the time, she printed out a list of just the most vulgar and sexual words in Japanese, like you do, and we memorized all the different words for penis, and those are some of the first Japanese words that I learned. All the curse words, I was 16. Of course, those are the first words I learned.
Yeah,
and yeah, it was a lot of that, and then I got a dictionary, and I would memorize random words that I could pick out from anime songs. I was a very, very insufferable weeb. This is before the term weeb existed. I was an otaku, not a weeb. But yeah, it was very cringe. I would memorize anime songs without knowing what any of the words meant. I would memorize random vulgar words. I would watch fan-subbed anime, and when I started to know enough Japanese to get in trouble, I would be listening to the subtitles and going, oh, wait a minute, they said kuso, but they translated it as like idiot or something instead of shit. That's wrong. And I like, at one point I sent a letter, like snail mail letter, because this was like 1997. And I sent a snail mail letter to the fan subbing group to ask, it was like a page long letter asking why they had made that translation choice. So yeah, that's my origin story learning Japanese. It was very cringe, and I went to Japan thinking, oh my god, the Holy Land, this is great. And then it was there that I kind of got a wake-up call and like, hey, Japanese and anime is not this magical mystical thing. It's kind of normal, and like anime isn't like super popular in Japan like you were made to believe it is. And it's like a lot of those misconceptions got cleared up during that year, and I came home humbled and just a lot more educated, frankly. And also more aware of what I didn't know. And I feel like this profession in particular, like you don't know what you don't know, and you're always learning. So the longer I've been doing this, the more I find myself like looking up words that I already know, but I'm going to look them up anyway, just to make sure. Like look up English words, look up Japanese words. So yeah, that was my arc.
And to tie it into my initial question, it's like the second you started mentioning that story, I don't know, because again, like I did watch a good chunk of that video, but I keep forgetting that a lot of those otaku twin sister skits like are based on your own experiences.
It's literally me. Like the otaku is pretty much what I was like at that age, and her twin sister is kind of more like me now. Like the series. I mean, I also had the more serious nerdy side. It's sort of like that's me if I had never gotten into anime versus me into anime. But yeah, it's literally me in the past, pretty much.
Fascinating. Okay, so in that case, one of my, granted, is a little bit more of an undeveloped question, but have you ever, when you were working on projects, had to make a decision regarding translating where, and I'm trying to like pull this out of my head, but basically it's like you translate something and it differs from the literal translation, but you still have to make that call. Have you ever had any experiences on the other side?
What do you mean on the other side? Like as an editor or?
Oh, no, more so like, no, when young you was like making that like whole dissertation.
Oh, yeah. No, yes. All the time, literally all the time. I'll be making choices like that where I'll literally translate hi, which most people know to mean yes, as no. Because depending on context, hi can actually mean no. In Japanese, they'll often ask questions in the form of a negative. So instead of asking, did you eat supper? I might ask, did you not eat supper? And so if you respond hi, that means yes, I did not eat supper, which we would not say in English. Instead, the exchange would go, have you already eaten? And I'd say no. Right? And so in that case, I translate hi as no, not yes. And then if I'm just a normie fan and I'm listening to that and reading the subtitles, I'll go, aha, that was wrong. That was like the exact opposite translation. So, I mean, that's a very basic example. But yeah, all the time I'm making calls like this. And the difference, though, is like I will often, if it is really, really out there, like, okay, this is very creative. I think it is definitely doing the original Japanese justice, given what this character's motivation is and the way in which this was written, the way the story is. I think I'm very justified in making this choice, but I'll still like add a note to the editor. I'll say, okay, this is what it was literally in Japanese, but this is my suggestion, and here's my alternative, like just in case you don't like this very like creative but frankly better translation that I've come up with. Here's another one. Because I mean, everybody is different, and at the end of the day, this is all very subjective. Language is very subjective, and what I think sounds good for a character is not necessarily what somebody else is going to think sounds good for that character. And that's why we have a team. That's why we have editor and quality assurance and stuff. And so I'll leave little notes for them in these moments where it could be a little bit more questionable. And then also, if it is a case of like I translate hi as no, so I might make a little note for the editor just in case they think, wait a minute. I'll say, nope, that actually means no in this case.
So this was one thought that I had when I saw, it was your mini piece about, One Piece basically, not
the recent one.
Embracing Nakama. Okay, so similar issue, different property. So I just wanted to get your 2 cents. And if you have no opinion, that's cool. But I guess the closest equivalent I personally thought of was the whole, big Tokusatsu fan over here.
Mm-hmm.
So basically the whole, basically how the word henshin is, yeah. I assume you already have your own thoughts, huh?
Well, no, I mean, I don't know what your question is yet, so I don't know, but I'm aware of Tokusatsu and Henshin. It's in Sailor Moon and a lot of those magical girl and superhero stuff.
Yeah, so I don't know, I guess being adjacent to those fan circles for a little bit, henshin has always been one of those sacred words that a lot of people favor to not touch, even though indirectly it can just be transform, and people, it apparently doesn't sound as cool. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, or is not really
I do have some thoughts. So on the one hand, Tokusatsu fandom, a lot of that comes from fan subs and non-official subs. So you are going to have that subculture where people have really developed that nomenclature, that sense of solidarity and community around these words.
Right.
On the one hand, you have that, and it's really hard to get rid of that. So if you are going to do an official translation, say, of some classic tokusatsu stuff and whatever, you do have to think about what is sacred in fan communities. A colleague of mine, Katrina Leonidakis, ran into this a while ago when she translated Higurashi, when they cry, go. It's a reboot of, I'm not familiar with the IP, but it's a reboot of a, anime and game from the aughts, where one of the characters was referred to as Ni. It's a cutesy term for big brother. And that's how the fans knew it was Ni. And she thought in her wisdom, well, frankly, that's not a good translation. It doesn't really serve the flavor of what that is. I think I can come up with something that would be a good equivalent. She did. And then the fans just dragged her for it because it was a sacred term. It's it's kind of like in Sailor Moon, right? I personally think that translating Tsuki ni kawatte o shokyo, which is her catchphrase, translating that as in the name of the moon, I'll punish you. I think that's a bad translation, frankly. It's literally what she's saying, but it doesn't really capture the vibe. It's so cheesy. It's so superhero-y. It's so, you need something snappy and wordplay-y there. I would workshop that with a team of writers personally, because it's a catchphrase. It's something she says in every episode. And I would come up with something better and zippier than in the name of the moon, I'll punish you. But because that phrase has just become so ingrained in the culture, even non-Sailor Moon fans know in the name of the moon, I'll punish you. They know that. So it's if I got the honor, say, of translating a new Sailor Moon, a reboot, or if I translated the Tokusatsu version, which is one of my dream projects. I think that is the best Sailor Moon. Toei is nope, we're not going to let anybody touch that. I'm please let me touch it. I would be so good. But yeah, if I were tasked with translating that, I don't think I would change it to something frankly better than in the name of the moon, I'll punish you. So yeah, things like henshin, henshin though, it depends. If it's something that I shout before I transform, then perhaps I would keep it as henshin. But if it's in a sentence, oh, he henshined into the superhero version of himself, then transform. You translate that in that case. But yeah, you have to walk that line, and you do have to consider legacy translations, which often, unfortunately, or for better or for worse, come from fans. And I am a former fan translator, so some of this is my fault, is what I'm saying. But yeah, there's no clear answer. It really depends on the project, it depends on the IP, and it depends on also like who you're releasing this with. Because some clients I have will want things to be very localized. Like my Japanese client that I do games for, they really want things more heavily localized. And like even if I cut in and say, hey, I don't think the fan base will like this to be localized, they still want it localized. So yeah, it's tricky.
So I have, and granted, this isn't like industry perspective. It's more like teenage me like goes way too deep into like digging up facts perspective. But I find a couple of points you brought up pretty interesting with with regards to henshin. So I want to say around high school, a couple people were digging up, and they still are actually, but a couple people had dug up some English dubs that I assume were made for like the Southeast Asian audience, and I think in some of those they just forego it. So some of those they forego it altogether and just do writer change, and then in others, it's actually very awkward because for the most part it's like very natural English, like we're saying now, but then they'll just say henshining in a normal English sentence, and it's incredibly awkward.
Well, yeah, again though, like, and I didn't mention this in my last little sidebar rant, but in Tokusatsu and Sailor Moon, which Sailor Moon is so heavily influenced, like Sailor Moon is Tokusatsu as far as I'm concerned. It is. But they all will yell these English terms that sound cool in Japanese because English is not their first language, but it often sounds dumb to an English audience. Like if you were to have native English speakers yell out like "Star Gentle Uterus" when attacking somebody, it's just like that's the silliest attack name you could think of. Like some of them sound kind of cool, but like Fire Soul, like it sounds a lot cooler if you yell it in Japanese, but like what they did in the original DIC dub is like they elongated it. They went Mars Fire, and then it just punched a lot better, even though it was different from the Japanese. And like in that regard, I almost feel like henshin kind of works as henshin just because for the Japanese audience, they have all that like English that thrown in there that isn't necessarily like, they know what it means usually, a lot of these English words, because they borrow so much English, in their language. But they still have this English words peppered throughout their attacks. So it kind of makes sense to have some Japanese words peppered throughout them too for the English speaking audience. I don't think it's that far of a stretch. I mean, especially since these are Japanese people that we're watching in this story.
So this does segue into a question I have on my notes. Okay, so obviously there's a bit of a generational difference. I got into Sailor Moon, I want to say like 2018 through the current Viz release. Oh, yeah. So you obviously have much more familiarity with the original DIC dub.
This is like dub number 3, I think, is Viz's dub.
Yeah.
Like, or maybe it's technically number 4. Well, because there was DIC and then it was canceled. And then I was part of that online campaign, SOS, Save Our Sailors, to get it back on the air. So thank me. Anyway, and then DIC was dubbing it again. And then what? Cloverfield? Not Cloverfield. That's a movie. But yeah, then they did the dub. And the Viz, it's been going through a lot. And then, of course, there's also Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon, the newer, the reboot. Oh, no, Sailor Moon Crystal.
Yes.
Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon is the tokusatsu.
Right.
And then you have Crystal. So, yeah, it's been through a lot. Anyway.
So, yeah, I guess my question is, was that original DIC dub really, like, you had to have been there in terms of like millennial US anime fandom?
You can actually go watch. I mean, I think they have some full episodes on YouTube. But they definitely have clips. You had to be there. Well, also in a way, I'm kind of the wrong generation too, because a lot of people who remember the Deke dub fondly were children when it was airing. I was a teenager when it was airing on TV. So for me, it was more like when I started watching Sailor Moon dubbed on TV, my brother and I tuned in to hate watch it. So because it was so campy and just kind of dumb, and so we tuned in to hate watch it. But then after a while, I was like, Canada like this, unironically, because I think as campy as it was, in many ways, it really captured the true spirit of that show. Because it is campy, like Sailor Moon is, especially the 90s version, very campy and fun. And these characters are very cartoony. But yeah, like I'm in a generation of like older people who got into Sailor Moon when they were older, and then I very quickly turned on that dub because I was like, oh yeah, that's for kids. I'm too cool for it. I'm gonna watch it in the original Japanese without subtitles, and I'm not gonna understand anything at all, but it's still gonna be better. So yeah, like even my experience is a little bit different from the other people of quote unquote my generation because I'm still older than a lot of the other people in that generation.
Right.
But yeah, it was a different time for sure. When I first tuned into Sailor Moon, I didn't even know it was anime. I didn't even know it was Japanese. I didn't know it was dubbed. It took me a little while to like notice, wait a minute, is that sign kind of in Japanese? Wait a minute, like this is weird. Why are there sweat droplets above their heads? I don't usually see that in cartoons. And it took me a little while to put the pieces together and go, wait a minute, this is imported from Japan. Oh, how interesting. And then I hopped on the brand new shiny internet and learned more about it, and then the rest is history. But yeah, nowadays I find people who were around during that era, my age or younger, but watching that dub of Sailor Moon, they now look back on it fondly. Like for all of its problems, they're like, you know what? I think we were too mean. It really was fun and campy in its own way, and I think it's valid. It's not necessarily the best representation of Sailor Moon, but it's still valid.
Yeah, I agree. A more relevant thing for my background probably would be, what was it, 5 seasons? Yeah. So like the first 5 or so seasons of the Digimon dubs, especially like the first like 2 or 3. I don't think a lot of them, well, especially season 1, I don't really think holds up, but I have very strong memories of that specifically. So despite being way more of a proponent for retranslations that are like more faithful, the US soundtrack specifically, especially Digimon the movie, I do have that. Yeah, I think that's my closest equivalent. And it's like, regarding Sailor Moon, I think it was interesting because for me, I had went in without like any real attachment. Like I was like glued to Toonami, of course, when I was a child, but I think around that time it was just off the airwaves for a long time. So I was never really going to like get indoctrinated into that through there. But yeah, I want to say through, I think by like episode 10 the minimum, like I was just like hooked. I was lurking through a couple old fan sites. I think by 2019 it was, I had so many of the soundtracks downloaded, and I think that was the peak because they had, I'm sorry, I'm just blabbing by myself at this point. So I was really getting into the music. I had actually met Ben Ibarra, who was voicing my favorite Sailor Jupiter, at Anime Expo 2019. So I was very happy about that. So I was with my cousin who was around for the original DIC dub. I bet her and like a quarter of people who were in the English showing of a couple of those movies when they got re-released were not aware of the redub. So I saw a couple people actually leave. But someone ended up messing up. So I think the screening was only supposed to show R and S's movies, but they showed S and Super S.
And
R
was my favorite when I was a kid.
Same, actually. So what they did is that they just like showed all of them. And it's like, all right. And we did get posters. So that was like a pretty pretty good fandom year, I'll say that. Thankfully, I think Christina V might be making it to this year's Anime NYC, so I'm hoping I get to meet her. But that's just me, like, gushing, you know? I'll get back to being a professional podcaster.
Yeah, like, one thing I will say, though, about, like, any of those older era anime dubs, like your Pokemon, your Digimon, your Dragon Ball Z, your One Piece for kids, your Yu-Gi-Oh, Sailor Moon, all of those, like, we can't really say that they were bad without acknowledging they were bad, but they turned me into a rabid anime fan. So they had to be doing something right. They had to be good. Like, I wasn't just, like, experiencing some temporary psychosis, like all of us, you know, into thinking, oh, this is the best thing ever. You know, it's like they had to be good to get us hooked.
Yeah, I agree. I remember, I want to say, I think around this time last year specifically, I did this, I think it was like half an hour, like 45 minutes bordering on. It took way longer than I initially wanted to, but it was a semi-personal retrospective on Dragon Ball Z Kai's dub specifically, mostly because I'm like a part of that age group who would have seen it on television, but it felt like for years there was half-truths about how that broadcast happened that were just getting parroted. And granted, I'm no Dragon Ball expert, but I was there, so like,
not either.
So it's like, yeah, I'll throw my hat in. And one thing that I'm glad I did, I actually did reach out to Breeden Palencia on a previous episode just to like get some insight about that, like the One Piece dub as well. Granted, I already figured this because my day job, I work in animation. I really wish a lot more ire when it comes to a lot of 4Kids edits or translation decisions. It seems that more of that weighs on standards and practices for TV channels than like actual like translation stuff. So I now people are having that conversation, but I really wish that levity was really being given like 5, 6, 7 years ago, you know, because the outrage seems a little bit selective, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I remember, like, again, back to being a Sailor Moon fan in the late 90s, like when the fans of my generation, like, there were plenty of teenagers and adults who were getting into Sailor Moon when I was. And we were outraged when we learned that there are you know, Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune are gay, and we were outraged when we later found out, when they brought them over dubbed many years later, that they made them cousins. Like, and we were also outraged when we found out that, because this was already in the DIC dub that I had seen, Zoisite and Nephrite, they were gay. And, you know, Zoisite was a man and not a woman. They changed Zoisite's gender so that Zoisite and Kunzite, who they renamed Malachite, so they would no longer be a gay couple. It's like, oh, now they're straight. And it's like, oh, like we were pretty outraged when we learned about that too. Like, that was one of the main things. It was like, oh man, this dubs are terrible. I'm gonna watch it in the original Japanese because they're so enlightened. I mean, that part was kind of wrong, but that conclusion that we drew was kind of wrong. But like we were outraged back then at the time. And then like in a lot of this happy, you know, nostalgia of, you know, those dubs were actually pretty good. It's like, yes, but they did make some really bad calls. Which, as you pointed out, and you're right, it was just the standards and practices. It wasn't like, I highly doubt that the people involved in actually localizing those were like, oh yeah, let's take away Sanji's cigarettes and give him a lollipop.
Yeah,
because
like,
that'll just
funny?
be so much better somehow. And let's take away all the gay people, because that'll be great. I doubt that the people actually, you know, doing that wanted to. But like sometimes you have to answer to your higher ups.
Yeah, exactly. I remember there was actually a Reddit comment for someone who basically did like digital editing work on 4Kids around when they sub-licensed DBZ Kai, the whole Blue Mr. Popo incident, and it was like, we didn't want to do that. We were basically told that we had to in order to air it. So yeah, but it's like comments like that, they barely get seen or acknowledged. So granted, like, I didn't do that for views. It was a passion project, but you know, I'm sure someone learned something. So apart from anime, you're also a novel writer. So how has that been doing lately?
How's it been doing lately? So I started. I mean, I've been writing stories again since I was a toddler. I wrote my first like chapter book or whatever to completion. I think it was in seventh or eighth grade, and it was sort of like it was just an open-ended creative writing assignment. The teacher's like, "Oh, just write something creative," and I'm like, "Ha ha!" Cracks knuckles, writes entire novel. It wasn't that long. It was probably like 50 pages long, and it wasn't that great, of course, because I was in eighth grade. And then my next like chapter books, novels that I wrote to completion were really cringe, self-inclusion, Fushigi Yugi fanfics that I wrote when I was 17. I broke my ankle, so I had to quit ballet for that year, and I was just writing fanfics all year. And then after that, my next novels that I wrote to completion were 2009, 2010, right after I stopped my coursework in grad school. I was supposed to buckle down and write the thesis, and I'm like, yeah, nope, I'm burnt out. I don't feel like doing that. I'm going to do the opposite of writing a thesis. I'm going to write a cheesy romance novel. So I started writing that, and then it evolved into something else, which eventually became the novel series that I recently, like in the last couple of years, had picked up again.
Nice.
So in the background, I've written about 6 novels in the series, and I'm working on getting the first one published this year. So this first one that I wrote back in 2009 when I was burnt out from grad school.
Nice.
So that's how that's going. Yeah, like it's a novel that I wrote 17 years ago, really, at this point. But I've since revised it quite a bit, polished it quite a bit, gave it to some beta readers. They assured me it doesn't suck. That's honestly what a lot of writing novels is. It's getting over your imposter syndrome, which in my case took like 17 years, and like publishing a bunch of novels as a translator for me to go, wait a minute, Sarah, you're literally a published writer several times over. You're not allowed to have imposter syndrome. You can write. Apparently, some people have decided you can write enough to pay you money to do it, so you should publish those novels already, and not care if people don't like them, because of course people aren't going to like them. That's art. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's giving me another creative outlet that translation doesn't always provide, because like translating other people's stories is great, but then I kind of think, oh, but this would be cooler in my own brain, and it's nice to be able to do my own thing.
Yeah, I can honestly relate to that sentiment. I do.
As animator.
Yeah. Oh no, I do.
It's like, do you want to animate your own stories?
Yeah. I'm just doing PA work. I've been doing that for 3-ish years now. And I'm very happy to have been doing that, but it's like my background is basically coming into this space as a fan, and like, yeah, I gleaned a lot of information, animation, like how to do the job, from like online, just like geeking out. But I missed that whole going to art school and having the space to like flex creative muscles that a lot of my peers had. So, I feel like my creative muscles and my insight are definitely underdeveloped. So I'm trying to get back into that, because I have really nice ideas. I've been trying to jumpstart a webcomic idea with my partner, which on the surface is very tokusatsu influenced, because like, no, look at me.
Hey,
but
do what you know.
Yeah, but it's also, I also want to like infuse a lot of my own experiences, like culturally, like heritagely, whatever.
Heritagely, it's a word now.
And yeah, just like a lot of the experiences of growing up in New York, and the good and bad. And I guess, granted, I haven't like published anything, but I've had a big Google document since 2021 probably, and I both, actually, it's not even both love and hate, but I actually hate the fact that my main villain has done things that now are just dangerously close to what's been going on now, so it's not even surprising anymore.
My villains are also kind of becoming dangerously close to what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Even though my story takes place in like the year 2010 at this point, like it's become a period piece, even though I didn't intentionally write it to be a period piece. I just wrote it so long ago that now it's a period piece. But like the villains in my series are also kind of echoing what's happening now.
Yeah.
Which is, that's where it's going.
Yeah. But at the very least, we can control the ending. So there's solace in that.
Yeah. I think that's part of it too. I think I'm subconsciously putting it in there because it's like I want these people to pay. I want justice to be served. So I got to do that.
Mm-hmm. Like, generally speaking, to any creatives listening in the audience, how important is it to still be able to make art in these tumultuous times?
Oh, it's extreme. It's the only thing that's keeping me sane. It makes it okay. So I have this saying I think it's in one of my books, actually. It's like, it's something along the lines of like, art won't save the world, but it certainly makes the world more worth living in, or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, I feel like what's kind of the point in living if there's no art, if there's no stories, if there's no music, if there's no anything. This has been my entire life, like ever since I was a toddler. Again, I'm just like, I like making things, I like telling stories, I like making things, and that's what I want to spend my life doing. And I want to also watch things that other people have made, read stories that other people have written, listen to music other people have made. Like, that's pretty much what I always want to be doing with every waking hour, which is why I got into a creative field professionally. I just kind of figured there's no other option for me.
Yeah.
Like, even though of course there is, I'm being kind of like smug about it. Like, I am above a normal office job like the rest of you peons. Where it's like, I think it was partly just like, I didn't have the language for it at that age, but I think I figured out pretty early on that I'm not neurotypical, and I'm like, I cannot survive in a typical office environment with people telling me what to do, following rules that don't make sense. I'm just like, I have to work for myself and make things because that's what I do.
Yeah.
And so I've just, my life has just been me finding a way to turn everything that I want to do and everything I'm passionate about into money, like at least enough money that I can survive.
Yeah.
So yeah, like especially now, yeah, it's very important to still, find beauty, find joy, find fun, because it's the only thing that's going to get you through it. Like, there's a fine line between just escapism, retreating into stories and art so that you can forget about everything else, and then like using this to recharge you and refuel you so that you don't just go into a depressive doomer spiral of, oh, why even try? It's not worth it. So yeah, that was my very eloquent answer about why art is important and why you should buy my book when it comes
out. Oh man, I don't do, let's see. Yeah, I don't do video podcasting on YouTube anymore, mostly because yeah, I'm just editing these on my own. So I learned very quickly that the returns were not returning. But it would have been very funny. As soon as soon as you mentioned that, I just had that one clip from the critic. It's like, buy my book, buy my book.
You could, if you're listening to this right now, just imagine, a graphic of like somebody with a very exaggerated smile pointing and like the little pow sound effect font. Oh, my book superimposed over the cover art that Sam did. Very lovely.
Oh man. And yeah, no, I completely agree with the sentiment. Like, from my own background, well, first off, I can attest to the idea of, no, most likely not being neurotypical because, again, look at me.
Yeah, I mean, I just default assume that pretty much most of my associates are not neurotypical, just in general.
Yeah.
I'm just like, if we vibe, if we get along, you're probably neurospicy, just because.
Yeah, it's like finding stand users. Like, but let me head back to what I was mentioning. What I really meant was getting to this point for me personally. in a similar sense. Like, I've always wanted to create, or at least like be close to, how cartoons are made, because I was like highly passionate about it. Even when I was pushed in the direction to get a quote unquote real job. Not only did the people I was interning with were supportive of me trying to go in this direction, I didn't get hired back by them. So I think that's another good sign. Like, I do have a degree in human services. I've mentioned it many times. And I don't mean for it to be a flex. More so, it's my motivation to, trying to see what my skills can do in order to like spread messages or like get people more aware of causes that I'm passionate about. Like using this like, art brain for good. But I still always wanted to work in this field, and I'm happy about that. But 2026 is definitely going to be the year where I remember that, like, hey, I am also a creative. So I'm going to like define myself more instead of just being like animation worker. It's why I'm trying to write more on my blog. I've been sitting on a Kamikaze Girls video essay for a year. I gotta make shorter videos, honestly. They can't all be passion projects. But yeah, no, I'm doing it, and I'm happy that I still have stuff that I'm doing. But yeah, I gotta make it shorter.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, if you're gonna have longevity as any kind of creative, you either need to have your day job that is, work at a bank or, whatever, something solid that has benefits, that's your day job, and then do your art a little bit on the side. You have to either do that, or if you're going to go all in and be, no, I'm going to make all my money being an artist. I've found, at least, being a person in my mid 40s now who has survived this long just doing work in the arts, you have to do multiple things. Like, I've choreographed musicals, I've taught dance classes, I've done improv comedy, both coaching, teaching, and performing for pay. I've translated light novels, manga, anime, games, tokusatsu, everything for pay. I've done YouTubing for pay now. I've utilized every single creative skill that I have, and I'm adding others as I go. You kind of have to do that though, because as an artist, you're constantly in a state of like of flux. Like, you're never really like employed anywhere. I work currently for Seven Seas and Yen Press both, but as a freelancer. I'm not technically an employee. Like, I'm under contract for certain projects, but like after that project is done, they're not necessarily going to hire me for anything else. The game agency I work for in Japan, it's again sort of by the project. I mean, I've been working for them now 13 years now, which is like an amazing streak, but it's not necessarily going to always be there, which is why, like, I'm online. Like, for my mental health, I wouldn't necessarily be so online, but like I kind of have to be so I can network and talk to other creative people. Just because, I mean, on the one hand, it's cool to talk to other creative people and you learn a lot, and it's just nice to meet other creative people. But I mean, I might give you a job someday. You might give me a job someday. Like, we all help each other. So yeah, to have any longevity as an artist in this field, that's what you have to do is, have your hand in several different baskets at once and be, constantly trying to, hone your current skills and finding new skills that you can also utilize / monetize. You have to keep doing that. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to, last as a creative artist person. You're going to eventually burn out, give up, and just get that job at that bank or whatever it is, that stable job. So those are my little words of wisdom for artists out there and creatives out there.
Yeah, and trust me, I think those words are definitely going to be evergreen. While I'm very lucky that the project I'm on is pretty successful, I never want to necessarily kick my feet up, especially during these tumultuous times, so always trying to juggle another plate on my hands, to say the least. And I'm glad, largely I've been able to float by on stuff that I taught myself. I didn't really go to college. And like I basically taught myself the Adobe Suite, and that's how I'm working now. So I'm happy about that. It does the mind well to step outside of imposter syndrome for a bit, but I'm just of the mind where I don't want to get too comfortable because again, yeah. But pats on the back are always encouraged. Let's. Okay. So we're winding down. I guess just to casually state, like what sorts of, and again, doesn't have to like specifically be anime, but in terms of media, like what have you been checking out, and do you have any recommendations for anyone in the audience?
This is a funny question for you to ask right now, because I think it was at the end of last year or the beginning of this year, I told my husband, like, he and I have been following all the MCU stuff. Like, we've seen every theatrical release since the first Ant-Man, I believe, in the theater. So, like, the last 10 years of releases, we've been seeing all of those movies in the theater. We've been watching all the Disney Plus, TV series as well for MCU.
Oh, wow.
But, like, yeah, that I'm not saying that as like, oh yeah, this is the thing I recommend. I'm using this as a preamble to get to the part where I say, I told him earlier, I'm like, you know what? I am so tired of like all the stuff that's out there that I can watch. It's overwhelming. There's too many choices. My backlog is so freaking long. I'm kind of just overwhelmed. Like this last year, I barely watched anything new, and I mostly just wrote my novels. I wrote like 2 novels last year, and I'd like reread what I wrote for entertainment.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm actually at a point now where I have this sort of unofficial rule that I'm not going to watch anything new for at least a year, if not more. I'm going to rewatch, reread things that I already know and love, because I'm getting to a point, I think it's partly my age, where I watch something new and 1 week later I will have completely forgotten what it was about. And like, I really miss when I was younger, I would watch things over and over again and I'd be able to quote from them. And like, I really would ingest them and really, I don't know, get more out of them, I think. So my recommendation for people to watch this year or to read this year is to just go back to your old favorites and just rediscover them, rewatch movies that you've seen before but you don't remember anymore, but you remember you liked them. That's actually my recommendation. And read my novels.
Yes.
Obviously. But yeah, like aside from the MCU stuff that's coming out this year, and the occasional, like we hang out with our upstairs neighbors every week, and we usually watch a movie.
Nice.
And sometimes it's going to be a movie I haven't seen before. Usually it's a movie I have seen before, but I don't remember. We watched Office Space last night.
Oh wow!
And it was delightful. I had seen it before, but I barely remembered it, and so it was a delight, watching it again, basically. And yeah, like. So that it's not really the best question for me to answer right now, in that I'm not really watching anything new or looking out for anything new. I'm kind of doing exactly the opposite.
Honestly, valid. What's it? I've been trying to see. With my current circumstance, it's actually very funny how I. Like, 2 sides of the same coin between me and my mother, but it's on opposite. Okay, so what I mean is that, like, I'm more interested in finding stuff on my own or just buying it on physical media, while my mom is all in on streaming and the convenience of that.
Oh, that's interesting. It's like an age reverse in a way. You'd think it would be the other way around.
Yeah. It's like now.
I know younger people are getting into physical media specifically, but like, the streaming versus finding new interesting things.
Yeah, it's like, for me, it's like, and trust me, I have like so many thoughts on this. The current trend, I guess. For me, it's not a trend because half of what I have is stuff that I've already owned. It's like I have grown up money now, so I can like buy stuff that I wanted to 20 years ago. I'm not trying to be performative in a sense. What was it? Yeah, I think perfect example. I have like very hazy memories of like, I think it was like 2008 or whatever, of like Media Blaster's Gal Gaigar DVD. And I was able to find the box set like on eBay. I want to say that maybe sometime last year. The second half was still sealed, and like that's a bargain. You know, like I'm very happy about that haul. But yeah, no. In terms of old favorites, Steven Universe and OKKO, Guilty as Charged. Those are both two cartoons I hold very close to my heart specifically. One for just encouraging like empathy and, you know, representation, and the other of just being a very unadulterated and just passionate experience of just cramming everything that you love into a very neat package, so to speak. Actually, okay, and granted, if you don't watch much in terms of Western animation, completely fine, but I did have like an interest.
Seen a fair amount of Western animation.
Okay.
I have not seen Steven Universe though.
Okay.
It's another one of those shows that's like, you know, the backlog is very, very long. It's like, I would probably like Steven Universe, but I don't know at this point when I will ever get around to watching it, since I'm not watching anything new for a while.
On the one hand, that's fair, but on the other hand, since most episodes are 11 minutes, it would probably be a pretty good binge. But actually, my main question is, as someone who is, to say the least, very familiar with anime, do you have like any particular opinions when, you know, there'd be like a viral clip in social media when this like cartoon references like a deep cut from an anime or whatever, or like crams a reference?
You know, a lot of those references are not necessarily valid to me, because a lot of them are from shonen and like battle shonen.
Yeah.
I'm not really into that genre specifically. Like a lot of the anime I like is shoujo, and honestly, like I got way more into manga than anime in the 2000s. So a lot of the it's like I'm a lot more into manga than anime, honestly.
Right,
so
right.
I could say, oh yeah, Glass Mask and well, I mean, some of the manga I'm into were anime, like Death Note and GTO. And Glass Mask was also an anime, and it was actually pretty well done, the most recent iteration. But yeah, like a lot of those references that I'll see on viral clips, I'm like, I don't actually get that because that's JoJo, and I'm not really into JoJo. Or I don't actually get that because that's like a Dragon Ball Z reference, and I'm not really into Dragon Ball Z. Or like, oh, that's a Demon Slayer reference, and I only saw the first episode. So it's like, in many ways, like, again, there's just so much stuff. There's so many shows, and there's so much anime I have not seen that I often feel like a fake fan in that regard, because there's so many huge, very formative shows. Gundam, I haven't seen any Gundam.
Really?
For example. Yeah, and it's like, I have seen a lot of anime, but it's not necessarily a lot of the more, you know, bigger anime that were formative for so many fans, especially younger fans. It's like I could rave about Marmalade Boy and Sailor Moon and Kodocha and Hime-chan's Ribbon and like all these shoujo manga from the 90s.
Oh, my partner loves Kodocha.
Those are the ones that really stuck with me. But like, I still think of like the squirrel hanging out in Sana-chan's mom's head, and then like one of the characters in one of the episodes just asks, "Where does that squirrel poop?" that just still sticks out in my head. It's like if there were a viral clip going around of that moment, then I would have thoughts. But like a lot of these are like, well, that doesn't really relate to me because I actually haven't seen that very famous, very popular anime that they're referencing. So yeah, that's my thought on that.
Yeah. I think as more weebs get in, there's going to be some deeper cuts. One thing I was surprised about, there was like an episode of Amphibia, which is another Disney Channel cartoon for kids. Then someone snuck in a shot that was blatantly from Get a Robo Armageddon, and it's like, oh, okay. And it's like I also relate, to the feeling of like being around for so long but still not seeing a lot. For me, I want to say like post 2008, if it wasn't immediately accessible on YouTube, legally or otherwise, that was just like a dark spot for like 4 years, because like Toonami was how I got my anime. If you can just watch the show on TV, why do you need the DVD? So I didn't really have like many physical. I didn't have like much physical media for anime. So that's like almost half a decade of where I had no idea what was going on. And then I want to say even now, like the whole concept of like, keeping up with the seasonals, it's like I do not have that free time or energy.
No.
It's like I'll get to it when I get to it. Like I'm the sort of like freak where it's like the new penny and stocking season came out sometime last year. I was at Anime Expo for it. I saw Trigger. It was there were some fun episodes, but then I checked my backlog. It's like Virtual Fighter anime. Fuck it, let's go. And no one's talking about that in 2026. But that's sort of like weirdo shit I'm on, honestly.
That's the thing too. Like it almost isn't worth it, like watching anime seasonally to keep up, because the whole reason you want to do that, right, is so that you can talk about it with other fans, right, when it's relevant, when it's out. But like if you don't watch it within the week, they've already moved on to something else, so it's almost pointless at this. And then it starts to feel like a chore. That's why I'm just like, no, I refuse. I'm not going to watch any of it. Well, also I don't have a Crunchyroll subscription anymore because fuck Crunchyroll. So, I mean, there's still plenty. I mean, I could just Netflix alone. I could watch every single anime on Netflix and not have time to even do that. Like, there's just so much stuff. Like when I was younger and like really, really into anime, there just wasn't as much stuff. You could practically watch everything that was available subtitled in English, like fan subbed and professionally subbed, and like every anime fan in that era had kind of seen all the same shows, so like there was so much more you could talk about. You had so much more in common. Nowadays, like, oh god, there's so many little subcultures within the anime fandom. It's like I can call myself an anime fan, but like I almost don't, because I am so different from, like the average 20-year-old boy anime fan, like what they're watching, what they're into, and what they want to get out of it versus like, me. And like a lot of my fandom is more, well, I work in the industry. And, well, I used to watch a lot of anime, and I still have some beloved manga series that I'll go back and reread. But for the most part, my participation in fandom nowadays is as a worker in the industry, not as a fan, just because there just isn't enough time.
Honestly, I think that's one of the biggest reasons why, like for tokusatsu, like Kamen Rider specifically, those like 50 episode long shows, I'm already watching a lot of those shows like many years after they originally ran. So when I'm like in high school, like the first half of my like college times, I can just like shred through those. Now it's like, no, like the reason why Zets has been easy for me to watch, not only is it easy to recommend to other people, don't have to like go through shady sites, but also one episode a week. And it's like, I don't have to queue up anything. I can do that. It's on YouTube. I'm already spending a lot of time on YouTube, but like in terms of keeping up with anything else, it's like, and it's actually ironic. They had 2 Kamen Rider animes. I fell off them both. And it's like they're delivering this stuff to me on a silver plate. Yeah. No. The fact that I have not read enough shoujo, like I'm already considering myself a fake fan. There was this.
I mean, again, there's just so many subgenres and sub communities of a fandom you can be a part of that it's like, again, like I have seen a lot of anime, I've read a lot of manga, and yet there are just so many like very popular, very famous series that I have not touched, and I probably never will touch. But it's like I kind of know what I like, and I kind of know, okay, I'll probably enjoy Demon Slayer enough if I watch it, but it's a battle shonen. I generally don't really vibe so much with battle shonen.
Yeah.
And it's like, as popular as they are, as beloved as they are, you know, the people who love them can go ahead and watch them. Like, there are exceptions. I very much enjoyed Attack on Titan, for example, which is, you know, a huge, famous, and arguably it's like a battle shonen and also a mecha anime. And like, those are two genres that I don't really like usually.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get a series that'll break through like that, and I'll like it. But I kind of can tell in advance, okay, I'm not gonna love this series. So I'm an old lady. I'm not gonna waste my time on something unless I'm pretty sure that I'm either gonna love it or I'm at least gonna remember it. That's my other criteria. It's like I would rather watch something bad and remember it at this point than watch something pretty good and then forget it next week.
Right.
So
yeah, no, that does make sense. I'm definitely a little bit more selective about the titles I try to keep up with myself. I feel like, and honestly, I've done like a pretty damn good job on not seeing, not because I'm actively trying to avoid a lot of stuff. I guess one would assume that I've seen like it took me like so long to get onto Dandadan, for instance.
Oh yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Finally, I was able to like complete season 2, like maybe like before the year ended, you know. And like I'm glad for that, but it's like this has been out for like a hot minute, anime and manga form.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm just like
yeah.
I'm just sleeping. And sleep is a reward in itself these days, so you know.
Oh yes.
I was actually trying to see, like, in another tab, there was this one shoujo beat manga I had when I was in like 7th grade, but I just cannot. I'm on Visit's site. I swear they licensed it, but I can't find it. I was gonna have like a funny anecdote about that, but alas. But this has been. We've had some great conversations. So yeah, thank you for taking time, part of your day, to join me on this episode of the KashCast as we wrap up. Where can people find you online?
Oh my. So the best places to find me are either of my two main YouTube channels. One is Sarah Moon. The other is Sarah Moon Japanese. The Sarah Moon channel is the one where I do commentary and video essays, and then Sarah Moon Japanese is where I have a library of over 200 videos on that channel that teach you Japanese, like from absolute beginner level to advanced level. Also, if you're interested in getting into translation, I have a lot of videos where I go through the translation process. Videos where I critique other people's translations. So if you're interested in all that stuff, the YouTube channels. If you just want to follow me, a weird middle-aged lady who has cats and cooks food and talks about random stuff on social media, Bluesky is the best place. I'm pretty translator at bluesky.social over there. So yeah, those are the places, the main places.
And as for me, you can find me. I should be a2adam.blacksky.app. If you're on Blue Sky, you can just follow that URL. I want to say, let's see. Yeah, as normal, if you go to a2adam.car.co, you should find all my socials. I also have my own personal website, a2adam.neocities.org, which houses my blog and the articles I write. My art, and even some photos. I'm slowly trying to update that as well. Again, these times are tumultuous. I normally use this time to update people on projects I'm working on. But no, I guess I've been living life for a hot second, which is good. Sometimes you need to take a step away from that stuff. But the more I keep talking about this damn Kamikaze Girls video essay, the more I'm putting pressure on myself to actually make it a reality. So there is that. It will be out before the end of the year. I will say that much.
Don't ever make a promise like that. you once you drop a promise like that, like you set a date or a time for a video, you're not going to be able to make it.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, it was supposed to be out like last July for Pride Month, and well, look how that turned out.
There it is.
So yeah, I'm being a little bit more generous. I'm actually condensing a lot of it down as we speak. But yeah, I can gush about that another time. Sarah, you've been a wonderful guest, and thank you for the insight.
You've been a wonderful host.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for the insights. Thank you for your experiences. Thank you for shooting this shit. So yeah, this has been another episode of the KashCast. I have been Adam.
And I've been Sarah Moon.
And we will both catch you next time. Remember to stay safe, take care, wear a mask, and remember, love and peace always. Take care, everyone.